வணக்கம் மேடம். வணக்கம் வணக்கம் வணக்கம். கோவிந்தன் சார் வந்துட்டாங்களா?
தெரியல, இன்னும் வரல. நானும் இப்பதான் உள்ள வர்றேன்.
சரி சரி.
மூவிந்தன் சார்
வணக்கம்.
மேடம்
வேதனை,
வணக்கம்.
வணக்கம், வணக்கம்,
ஐயா வணக்கம். ஐயா வணக்கம்.
வணக்கம் சார்.
எல்லாருக்கும் வணக்கம் மேடம். மேடம் வணக்கம் மேடம்.
வணக்கம் சார். ஓகேங்களா?
நம்ம கெஸ்ட் வந்து ஜாயின் பண்றேன்னு இருக்காங்க. 2 மினிட்ஸ் ஜாயின் பண்ணிடுவாங்க.
அது ஒரு 7 நிமிடம் இருக்கு சார்.
இருக்கு மேடம். டைம் இருக்கு.
சுந்தரியை காணோம், அவங்களை காணோம். சுந்தரம்
இருக்காங்க மேடம். சுந்தரி மேடம் இருக்காங்களே இல்லையா?
இருப்பாங்களா? யூடியூப் வராங்க.
நீங்க சோபியா மேடத்துக்கு ஒரு நாள் கால் பண்ணுங்க மேடம். ஜாயின் பண்ண சொல்லி.
சொல்றேன் சார்.
நான் காலைல ரிமைண்ட் பண்ணேன், அவங்களுக்கு ஞாபகப்படுத்துங்க.
சொல்றேன்.
சரிங்க மேடம்.
நிமிமா கேமரா ஆன்ல இருக்கு.
மூவேந்தன் சார் சோஃபியா எடுக்கலையே. மூவேந்தன் சார்
Sundaravali madam, good evening.
சார் சோஃபியா போன் எடுக்கல.
விட்டுருங்க மேடம், விட்டுருங்க. ரைட் மேடம். Sundaravali madam, சார் ஜாயின் பண்ணிட்டேன்னாங்க. பாருங்க.
Yes, sir. He has joined, sir. Welcome, sir.
Sir, good evening, sir. Welcome, sir. Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
வணக்கம் சார். வணக்கம்.
Sir, mic unmute பண்ணுங்க சார். மைக் ஆஃப்ல இருக்கு சார். உங்க மைக் ஆஃப்ல இருக்கு.
Am I audible now?
Right, sir. Perfect, sir. Perfect.
Shall we start
Right.
the program, sir?
Now, please wait for a minute, madam.
Is my camera on or should I have to open?
Everything fine, sir. Everything fine. Right, sir.
Okay, okay.
I'm just wait for one more minute and let us start, madam.
Sure, sir.
Move in.
Sir,
Should I start or do you have any other formalities to begin with?
nothing, sir. Just one more minute, sir. We'll start by 6 o'clock sharp.
Okay.
Madam, shall we start?
Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Let us begin the program,
Okay, sir.
please.
Good evening and welcome back to our virtual faculty development program. I hope you all had a restful break since our last session. We are delighted to have you all on day 5 of our FTP as we continue this journey of professional growth and knowledge exchange. It was heartening to see the stupendous response in the form of positive comments and appreciation from participants from day 1 till now. Learning gives creativity. Creativity leads to thinking. Thinking provides knowledge, and knowledge makes you great. With this quote of Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, I extend a very warm welcome on behalf of Ayanada Janaki Ammal College, Savagasi, who has clubbed all of us for the national level 7-day Upskilling Professional Development Program, jointly organized by the departments of Tamil and English under the UGC Autonomy Grant. From today to next 2 days, we have an exciting agenda plan full of insightful sessions, collaborative discussions, and opportunities to learn from the expert speakers of English language and literature. We are confident that today will be both inspiring and educational. So before we dive into the sessions, let's go over a few housekeeping details. Please, professors, ensure that your microphone is muted when you are not speaking to minimize the background noise. And thanks in advance. So let's get started. To welcome is to do the honor. To welcome is to establish kinship. I now invite Dr. M. Uvendan, the head department of English and the convener of this program, to deliver welcome note. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, KS ma'am, Sundaravali madam, for acting as the convener for sharing the session here. A happy welcome and good evening to everyone gathered here virtually. It gives me great pleasure to extend a hearty welcome to all the participants, especially the chief guest for the 7-day virtual upskilling faculty development program. To begin with, let me invoke the blessings of our founder parents of this great institution, that is Ayanada Janaki Ammal College. As the name suggests, with their blessings and the heartfelt support extended by the management of the Anja College as well as the principal, with his guidance and support, we have organized this wonderful 7-day virtual FDP. And at this juncture, I deem it with great pleasure and privilege. I extend a wholehearted welcome to the chief guest of today's function, who is none other than my elder brother and professor, former professor and head of the Department of English from the Research Department of English. Now he is also a visiting faculty in the American College, Madurai, which is one of the pioneering institutions since the year 1881. I'm really doubly happy that I had the opportunity of welcoming my guru and my teacher, a great dramatist, a lover of drama, Professor Elango sir, who has been amidst us for chairing the session and delivering the presidential address this evening. And I always enjoy listening to his lectures, even as a student, both at the UG and the PG level. I never miss his classes. Even when I take leave, I come to college for his hour alone, for attending his classes. Oh, such a great personality and eminent dramatist, who is the founder director of the Fourth Wall Theatre of the American College, is amidst us. It gives us great joy to welcome you. Welcome you, sir, for having accepted the invitation in such a short notice. Thank you so much, sir. Next, I would like to welcome the conveners of this FDP, Dr. N. Arunvali Madam. Welcome, ma'am. I also extend a hearty welcome to Senior Professor and Head of the Department of PG, Department of Tamil, Dr. Sivanesan Ayya, as well as Dr. Vinod Kumar, Mrs. K. Sundaravali, all my colleagues of the Department of English, and all the faculty members from Department of Tamil, research scholars, non-teaching faculty, and especially, finally, I also extend a very hearty welcome to all the participants, my beloved colleagues from my department, from my college, and also from all the colleges from throughout the state, as well as from other states also. They have joined this program, and we have received a very, a very heartening response that more than 500 participants have registered, and so we are running a parallel session on YouTube also. So it gives me great joy and pleasure once again to extend a hearty welcome to all of you gathered here this beautiful evening. I assure you and I promise you that you will cherish this lecture by my beloved Guru, Professor N. Elango, sir. Thank you once again for joining with us, sir. Now, let us have a formal welcome address by my colleague, Ms. T. Sivashankar. Please.
Thank you for your cheerful words of welcome, sir.
Please, Ms. Sivashankar, madam, kindly extend an introduction to the chief guest. Give a formal introduction. Actually, Professor Elango doesn't need an introduction. He is a well-known figure throughout our country. Please give a formal introduction, please. Thank you.
A pleasant evening for all, and very good evening, sir. Welcome, sir, first of all. It's always a pleasure and privilege to have you with us, sir. And our beloved resource person, Professor N. Elango, sir, Associate Professor and former Head Postgraduate Department of English, the American College Madurai, has 36 years of teaching experience and 40 years of theatre activities. He was taught drama by Professor J. Vasantan, and he is a Chancellor in IGNOU for Diploma in Arts Theatre. He is the founder and director of Fourth Wall Theatre and on-campus academic theatre. He has conducted theatre workshops all over Tamil Nadu. He is the official translator of the transgender and social activist Kalki. He has translated all the 1330 couplets of Thiruvalluvar as reread by the late Tamil scholar and educationist, former Vice Chancellor Shubha Manikanath. He is the author of the book Film Appreciation for Beginners. His Tamil translation of T.S. Eliot's The Wasteland awaits publication. Above all, he loves students and wants to be remembered as a teacher. On behalf of everyone, I cordially invite our resource person to offer his effective perspective on the topic, sharing the subliminal text enjoyment of fiction. Carl Jung says that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Now we can make the unconscious conscious by the words of our resource person. Without further ado, I cheerfully hand over this session to our resource person. Once again, we all welcome you, sir. Welcome, sir.
Just to add one more point, as a founder director of the Fourth Wall Theatre, my professor, Dr. Elango, has directed more than 16 plays successfully, which no one can ever match his record. Thank you, sir. Please, the floor is all yours. Thank you, sir.
After all these, what do we call build-ups given by the head of the department, Dr. Muvendan and Professor Sivangani, ma'am, you may wonder why this gentleman chose fiction instead of drama or translation to be for today's topic. Naturally, before getting into the topic with a justification, I first congratulate the Department of English and the Department of Tamil of Anja College for this very good, innovative move that using the vernacular as well as an international language together in the same forum. This is a very good attempt. This is a very good attempt. So first of all, my congratulations. I will try to do justice to this august floor, which is filled up with so many teachers. I know very well the responsibility of sitting before you and the teachers, because each teacher counts to be thousands of students. So what we are going to discuss here is going to have a lasting impact on the student community and academia in general. I know my responsibilities. First of all, why fiction? Why fiction? That is the question. Why not drama or poetry? To share the subliminal experience. The idea is fiction has all the three ways of discourse: descriptive, narrative, as well as dramatic. Descriptive is in the description of the scenario, the background and all. For example, Nathaniel Hawthorne, Edgar Allan Poe would always begin their novels with an establishment, a description, what the locale is, the time and place. For example, Edgar Allan Poe in his Fall of the House of the Usher is the excellent short fiction, Fall of the House of the Usher, 19th century American writing. He would begin his writing with the clouds hung oppressively low in heaven. The clouds hung oppressively low in heaven. See, the way in which he establishes the mood, the color, the texture of the narrative she is going to unravel is excellent. There are other people like Ernest Hemingway who would open his Snows of Kilimanjaro with a dramatic opening, not just in medias res, not just the epic technique of opening from the middle to grasp the attention as Shakespeare would do in his plays, opening with a bang. Not just for that. He opens the Snows of Kilimanjaro with an inimitable line. The marvelous thing is, it is painless. The marvelous thing is, it is painless. You see, only a creative writer can open like this because it does not fit anywhere in our grammatical structure. We never open something new with the pronoun it, but Hemingway deliberately chooses this it because this it is going to be what Robert Frost time and again would say, we dance around in circle and suppose, but secret sits in the middle and knows. The mystery of iniquity, the unfathomable depth of death. You see, death is the only decisive thing, the only confirmed thing, the one thing which not even the Upanishadic quest has taken to its destination. So death always, whether it is in the poetry of Walt Whitman or in the novels of Edgar Allan Poe or in so many other things we read from epics, death always remains something unfathomable, like the out of the cradle endlessly rocking, the sea waves moving and keep blowing, you see, the lapping waves. But we don't understand. It is a kind of angst in which we are all living. So the it remains very important there in the opening. So we are not just here talking about the openings. The question is basically why fiction? Why now for the students? The students of today are so engrossed in visual language, and even in the visual language, in the digital gadgets they have, in the so many apps, social media networks they have, What I noticed of late, many of you would have noticed it also. They go on surfing through the reels. I tell my students, all right, if you are very interested in watching WhatsApp or FB or whatsoever, you see, don't just stop with browsing through the reels. The reels would run only for some 30 seconds or 1 minute. Their patience, their ability to concentrate stops at that level. That is why precisely they are not able to focus upon a YouTube footage which may run for some 30 minutes or 1 hour. They will never be able to do that. If they can not even focus upon the visual medium which they are so fond of, how are we going to make them read the verbal mode, a text, whether it is in Kindle or it is in a printed form? How are we going to make it? So we must tell our students the importance of reading fiction. We must tell our students how reading fiction is subliminal as well as pleasurizing. When I use the expression subliminal, I use it in two different ways. If you take advertising, then subliminal advertising is something which is opposite to supraliminal advertising. Subliminal advertising, if you ask your physics or biology or even chemistry counterparts, they would tell you about this. You see, in the neurons, the neural science tells us that there is something called threshold in our brain. This threshold is the gateway. Something which is above this threshold will immediately tickle, immediately kindle, immediately provoke a response, instigate a response, demand a response. So the advertisements not applying to our physical senses. By physical senses, what I mean is tangible reality. For example, drinking Coke or eating pizza. You see, if we apply our physical knowledge, if we apply our medical cognitions, then we will understand that these two things will never do good for our health. So there they use subliminal advertising. For a fraction of a second, you see, maybe for 1 second, in 25 frames for 1 second, one frame. In one frame, there will be a hidden message. This message will appeal to our subconscious, not to our conscious level. So, subliminal advertisement is something which the young people are cautioned against. Something as opposed to supraliminal advertising. Supraliminal advertisement will give you facts, tangible facts. So we are asked to guard ourselves from subliminal advertising. So this is one thing. I don't mean subliminal, sharing the subliminal text by subliminal advertising. What I mean is this subliminal is as something opposed to the pleasure text. You see, there are some texts, for example, the reels the children watch. These texts are just pleasure texts. They won't attribute anything to the enhancement of their cognitions because they are very short-lived, they are very sensational, they just apply it to their sensory perceptions and stop at that. They don't go deep to invoke something. You see, in a classic work of art, I always tell my students, in a classic work of art, it is eternal and universal. At the same time, it is fixed in a specific place and time. Like that, a classic work of art tells a story. Good. There is no denying of it. It tells a story. At the same time, it has many gaps for the readers to fill it. ask your students to go through a collection of short stories written by Arunan, our MKU professor, Professor Emirate Arunan, a Marxist thinker. You see, he has written some 12 or 13 short stories compiled under the title Pur Vamsam. These 12 dozen stories are just filling the gaps which the epic Mahabharata has left for the readers to fill. Maybe, you see, an epic work, an artist, even when he retells Upanishads, even when he retells epic, an artist, I may be a person who is living in 21st century, belonging to a particular political ideology or particular community or whatsoever. But the artist in me transcends these ideologies, these personal ideologies. To be honest, in my young days, I think it is back in 1980s, in the same stage, there were two eminent personalities, you see, in Chennai, two eminent novelists. One was T. Janagiraman and the other was Jayakant, the stalwarts, the big shots, you see, of novel. Totally different from each other. Both are wielding such impact on the reading populace of Tamil Nadu. You see, T. Janagiraman, the author of Marappasu, Amma Vandal, which have all been translated into English as the wooden cow, the farmer as the wooden cow, and the later as Sins of Apu's mother. You see, someone whom we can call a Lawrencian writer in India, from India, you see, with the Indian background and Indian heritage. Whereas Jayakanthan claims himself to be a Marxist writer in his early days, a feminist writer, a Marxist writer in his early days. And the usual question was asked to both these people. First, unfortunately, they chose T. Janagiraman. Since we are all learning professors, I don't mind sharing this uncouth answer. Uncouth in the sense it was honest, but I don't know whether anyone would speak like this in a public forum. T. Janagiraman did that. What did he say? The usual question, universal question, the stock question was asked, why do you write? Why do you write? நீங்கள் ஏன் எழுதுகிறீர்கள்? For which T. Janagiraman said, அடுத்தவன் மனைவியை அனுபவிக்கும் இன்பம் கிடைக்கிறது, அதனால் எழுதுகிறேன். You see? True. Creative writing is a wish fulfillment. There is a good amount of vicarious pleasure and voyeurism involved, both from the part of creative writer and the part of the reader. செய்தோம் உய்த்தது துய்த்தது காண்போர் கெய்துதல் மெய்ப்பாடென்ப மெய்யுணர்ந்தோரே. I'm an English teacher. Put up with me if I quote wrongly from தொல்காப்பியம் பொருளதிகாரம் மெய்ப்பாட்டியல். செய்தோம் துய்த்தது. What the pleasure? பாவனானுபவம் பரதத்துவம். See, பாவனானுபவம் பரதத்துவம். What the doer experienced, the reader, the viewer should also experience that. This is vicarious pleasure, the surrogate, the substitute pleasure. You see, this involves a good amount of voyeurism. You see, Sigmund Freud time and again insisted upon creative writers and wish fulfillment. Only later, his disciple Carl G. Jung talked about creative writing need not be always wish fulfillment. It could also be Mithridatic. Mithridatic means reality preparation. This idea came to Carl G. Jung when he came across, he was a practicing doctor, not just a psychologist, but also a psychiatrist like Sigmund Freud. So he came across many cases which were affected with a kind of new malady during the World War, shelling, bombing. Bombing was very new to humanity then. You see, aerial bombing was new to humanity then. You see, it was called shell shock. Read it in detail when you have time. So these patients, like the Bhaskar character, in Mori film, there is a professor. The professor's mind stops working at a point when he lost his son with a premature death in a road accident. His mind refuses to travel beyond that because the shock is too much for him. So his mind is still living in the past, you see, till the end. This is what you call Mithridatic effect, shell shock. Time and again, your brain plays it, rewinds it, replays it in order to adjust to the reality, in order to digest the reality so that it can transcend what happened. But when it is impossible for the mind to cope with such a shock, the mind stops working at that point. This is Mithridatic effect. So, Carl G. Jung advocated not only this vicarious wish fulfillment be the sole reason, the sole experience of the creative writer as well as the reader, it could also be Mithridatic. Sometimes, he said, something like to be or not to be. That's the question. Something like that. So, a good amount of this experience, Janagiraman said, அடுத்தவன் மனைவியை அனுபவிக்கும் இன்பம் கிடைக்கிறது, அதனால் எழுதுகிறேன். Jayaganthan was furious. Jayaganthan was notorious for his flying temper in those days. He would manhandle anyone, you see. So he got up to thrash T. Janagiraman and he was stopped by the organizers, fortunately for T. Janagiraman. And T. Janagiraman was taken away. And then after consoling Jayaganthan, Jayaganthan was fuming with anger. You see, asking, all right, you tell us, why do you write? Then Jayaganthan, with his usual gusto and elan, you see, twirling his mustache and clearing his throat, Jayaganthan started, you see, கேட்பவன் திருதராஷ்டிரனாக இருக்கும் பொழுது கதை சொல்பவன் சஞ்சயனாக இருக்க வேண்டாமா? நடந்து கொண்டிருப்பது பாரத யுத்தம். The war of Kurukshetra is going on. When the reader is Dhritarashtra, the Dhritarashtra is the maker, the emperor. The emperor can make or break the war. One word from Dhritarashtra stop the war, then the war would have been stopped. But this maker is also visually challenged. He is blind. He cannot see himself. Like that, the public can make or break, but the public cannot see itself. So, கதை சொல்பவன் சஞ்சயனாக இருக்க வேண்டும். The narrator should be the Sanjaya who tells the ongoings of Kurukshetra war every day to the emperor. So, I am Sanjaya. I want to be a Sanjaya. So, this kind of literature, this kind of a classic work of art, beyond just narrating a story, being a critique of its medium, must also be remembered. This is what we mean by the pleasure text and the subliminal text. So, the subliminal text, how are we going to share the subliminal text inside the classroom? This is our question. Because if we do not find the gaps, novel is a fine example for any teacher to easily find the gap and ask the student to fill it up so that the students can switch off your mic, Mr. Kumaran. Professor Kumaran, please switch off your mic. Thank you. So what happens here? If the message goes wrong, if the students do not know how to read a subliminal text, in that sense, should we not conclude that every text is a subliminal text? In some way. We are not just attributing artificial meaning to a text. The text, when it comes to the public. Then it becomes a public property. Do our students take the right thing from the text? That is important. Can't it be done with poetry, or can't it be done with drama? It cannot be, because the space and the time a novel has is not there for a drama or a poem, even if it is epic poetry. You see, in drama, it is dynamic and is in the present. Every performance lives in the present. I know that. If something goes wrong, you cannot do anything about that. You have to correct it only in the next performance. In that sense, even cinema is a product, but drama is a process. It is always living in the present. So a dramatist does not have that kind of leisurely space. I don't belittle. I don't exaggerate either. You see, the reality is the dramatist or a poet does not have that kind of space and time to make things clear to the audience, to try to fill the gap between the writer's intention and the reader's intention. That is why in the beginning I started with the statement, drama has all, novel has all, the fiction has all the three aspects of discourse. That is why a fiction makes good film. Not even a performing visual art like drama makes a good film. Drama is basically dialogue oriented. You see, drama is basically dialogue oriented, whereas fiction has all these three things. So when you carry a fiction to cinema, what happens is the description becomes the scenery, the narrative becomes the action, the dramatic becomes the dialogue. All these three things are found in cinema and fiction. So how to make our students read the fiction? Since I have made a reference to cinema and fiction in the same breath, I must clarify this here now. What happened to Mamannan film recently? Many of you would have known it. You see, in Mamannan, the protagonist is Mamannan. The antagonist is the role played by Fakat Fasli. But you know what happened? Many people started celebrating Fakat Fasli's character. So the message may go wrong because your visual medium is moving. What you take from that, your visual medium will become a subliminal advertising. It will not become a subliminal text. So in a novel, you have enough space to describe, to clarify all these characters, and in a way one can influence the readers. Of course, any work of art is barging into the privacy of the reader. You can't help it. Any work of art, as long as it requires a viewer or a reader, an observer, it actually barges into the most privatest, to use a Shakespearean double superlative, the most privatest chambers of a human heart, and it tries to influence, of course. But how can we make this influence, this impact positive? That is the question. So in novel, you have the space. How to attract? You may ask me, sir, our students do not even read short stories. How am I going to make them read 100 pages or 200 page or 500 page novel? We should make the students who are very good in visualization, we should make the students read the descriptive passages. Generally, students do not read the descriptive passages. They go for narrative and dramatic passages. See? They skip even when we read, when there is a description of nature comes. or description of a city comes, the moment we have read the word city or nature or battlefield, we just skip and move to the narrative part, because we have to finish the novel. So if we focus upon, if we ask the students to read the descriptive passages and visualize the characters, the location in their minds, then naturally students would be reading the life of a person or a set of people. They will not close their books down before knowing what happens to them ultimately. Because fiction, the most challenging thing about fiction writing is that paraphrasing and experience. How are we going to handle time and space? How are we going to handle time and space? A single second may have been described into pages, many pages. At the same time, 1 year would have been described in one passage, one paragraph. So how the writer pays attention to the time, how does he handle the lifespan of the characters he's talking about? So what are we going to focus upon to make fiction reading as a subliminal experience? Again, I'm telling you, I'm not talking about subliminal in the context of psychology or neurology. I'm talking about subliminal as something opposed to pleasure text. You see, like pornography, pleasure text, just being vicarious, moving beyond vicarious to understand that the text, even though it is eternal and universal, it is fixed in a space and time. There are many meta-narratives about the time in which it has been written. You read the narratives of Geoffrey Chaucer, something like the Canterbury Tales and all, how much we understand the Chaucerian England from that. This space is available in novel. So we should engage our students in reading. I'm not just talking about social criticism, sociological criticism, historical criticism, psychological criticism, the canonical criticism. No. I'm requesting my colleagues to make the classroom hyperlinking classroom, hypertexting classroom. What do we mean by hyperlinking? At any point, the student may stop and take off. See, any point, it is like the Derrida's text and plague. See, we are not moving out of the text. The text is there, but there is a paragraph, there is a reference. For example, if Shakespeare makes a derisive comment upon the mob and the mob psychology, or if Shakespeare makes Nick Bottom's character as a butt of ridicule, then what should we do? Why? Nick Bottom has become the butt of ridicule. Then you would understand that the weaving community was hailing, coming up in those days. Like that, if a drama can have such a space, such a time, such an explication, imagine how much of explication is possible in fiction, which has enough space and time. I make a simple example. You see, Albert Camus, The Outsider. Albert Camus, The Outsider, begins with the immortal line, "Mother died today. Mother died today." You see, mother died today. It's not again just starting from the middle and grasping the attention of the audience. It is very significant opening. Neither he says, "My mother died today." See, in the French, I don't know French, but I have consulted with some of my French teachers. They have told me the natural French syntax would make the writer write as "Today mother died." So the $1 million question between English and French in the outsider, L'Étranger, is that is the mother's death the real problem there? Or the day in which the mother died, the problem? See, Mr. RK, Mr. RK, please switch off your mic. Switch off your mic, RK. RK, please switch off your mic. The second chord, yeah, thank you. So, see, so is it the mother's death or the day in which the mother died? Those who have read The Outsider would understand the difference. Both these things play an important role in that novel. We read this novel as an existentialist, as an absurdist work. ஒரு அபத்த நாவலா படிக்கிறோம். ஆனா ஒரு நிமிஷம் தமிழ்ல கூட அந்நியன் வந்திருக்குது. தமிழ்ல கூட அந்நியன் டிரான்ஸ்லேட் ஆயிருக்குது. அதுல ஒரு இடத்துல கூட, not even in a single place, we ask the question, what kind of depiction Albert Camus makes of the French, Arab, Jews? The important role, the pivot. You go and check, you may note, I'm sorry, I'm taking liberties with you. You see, you may already know the name Gustav Freytag, Freeytag, Gustav Freytag. Gustav Freytag is famous for the Freytag diagram. He was the one who very diagrammatically, very graphically explained the plot structure of novel. He started with novel, and then we apply that to drama and cinema today. He also did something with drama, how the plot structure moves. You see exposition, conflict and suffering, climax and catastrophe, fall, and denouement. You see the 5-act, 4-act, 3-act division. You see, beautifully he would explain. We can also do that in the plot. If we draw the plot structure, you draw the plot structure of Silas Marner, George Eliot, Silas Marner. Victorian novels are very interesting, very encouraging, very much encouraging to the readers because they are very much readable. Even the classic Victorian novels are very much readable because they have a perfect balance, perfect plot structure, which is not realistic. Nobody has such a perfect balance in life. But Victorian novels try to establish an illusion of such a power structure, such an equilibrium in human life. As drama tried, virtue must be rewarded and vice must be punished in those days. Classical thought. The Victorian era was fashioning itself after the classical age. So what happens there is, suppose if you try Silas Marner would start as an innocent person. Then his fall comes down. Slowly he begins to fall and he hits the rock bottom of faith, the rock bottom of humanism. You see, when he loses even his money, then he loses everything in this world. He has been losing everything. Finally, what he has is the gold coin, a bag of gold coin. Then that also is stolen. Initially, his girlfriend was stolen, his faith was stolen, his virtue was stolen. He ran away, ஓடினான் வாழ்க்கையின் ஓரத்திற்கே ஓடினான் கலைஞர் எழுந்த மாதிரி. He ran to the remote dire strait of the life, and he hits the rock bottom of his life, rock bottom of morality, like Bozola or Iago. When he hits the rock bottom, what the novelist precisely says is, Silas Marner felt like falling into a dark and deep pit. This imagery is also a structural plot structure reality. There is a deep and dark pit into which the truth is buried. That is the dead body of Dunstan Cass. When this body comes out, when people find out this body, identify this body as Dunstan Cass' body, then the novel takes a pivot. You see, Then the novel, when it ends, at that point, after having hit the rock bottom, Silas Marner slowly climbs the ladder of humanism. And when the novel ends, Silas Marner has come to the point where he started from. But the difference is he started as a good and innocent person. Now he has ended up with a good and wise man. Like Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner, The Wedding Guest, like Kamal Hassan, Madhavan starring Anbe Sivam, Madhavan's character. You see, Anbu character. When he came in, he was a good person, but very naive. When the movie ends, he remains a good person, but he is wise, worldly wise. It is subliminal. The experience is subliminal. The experience is a blissful experience. So Silas Marner climbs up the ladder of humanity and faith, and he reaches having recovered his faith. The difference is he was innocent, now he is faith. Such kind of structure would always be there. They will write in a structure because you have to think coherently to write a novel. You have to start at a point. This point is called departure. It is a life. What portion are we going to cover from this life? So you take at a point, then there is a destination. There is a departure and destination. So definitely a fiction writer, despite the fact his writing is voluminous, he would have a definite structure. It is we who have to identify that structure. By saying the beginning, I don't mean just the beginning of the person's life. Not necessarily. Anywhere you can take it. What is the beginning of the novel? So if we identify the structure, then definitely we will point out the Arab Jews, the character, the French Arab Jew, you see, plays the pivot in the life of Albert Camus, in the life of Meso, who is spelt as mere salt, but spelt as Meso. He is the one, only because he killed that person, and with five bullets, you see, giving five wretched knocks, 5 knocks at the doors of wretchedness, you see, he was taken to the court where everything stood against him. But not much importance is given to that Arab character spatially. Because it is true, Albert Camus wants us to understand that the Arab Jews were betrayed by the French government after the elections were over. We too come to power after promising so many things. But after coming to the power, we don't do it. You see, we don't do it. Like that, the French government did it. Only because of that, Albert Camus, who was a cold member of Communist Party, he came out of that party later in his life, like George Orwell, you see. So you can ask such questions. A student within the text can ask for the Tamil teachers. I give you one example, which is a spellbinding line in Bharatiyar's Panchali Sabadam. You see, it is a typical example how Bharatiyar was to constrain himself into drama form and went to narrative form, you see, because Bharatiyar had so much to say. I will stay with you for 5 more minutes, then I will give you time for question. I will finish this. You see, in Panchali Sabadam, Draupadi is dragged, holding her by hair to Chadan and Vadi. I mean, he takes her to the court where so many people are there, scantily dressed Draupadi, who is attending the menstrual period. That time so many things happen. But what is important here is, while he's dragging Draupadi, his sister-in-law, on the streets, people who are there, they just say, alas, alas, ayyo, inna aniyayam, ayyo, alas, alas, what injustice is that? They start shouting. At that point, Bharatiyar stops the drama. He resorts to narratology. Narrator's voice comes in there. வீரமற்ற நாய்கள் விலங்கு இளவரசன் தன்னை தானே மிதித்து தராதலத்தில் போக்கி புன்னை என்ற புறத்தினிலே சேர்க்காமல் நெட்டை மரங்களாய் நின்று புலம்புகிறார். பெட்டை புலம்பல் பிறருக்கு துணையாமோ? But what is our focus? Our focus is Bharadiyar calling the passive onlookers as people who are impotents, people who are cowardly dogs, mongrels, you see, street dogs, stray dogs, cowardly mongrels, you see. That is the thing that remains in our heart. While we are doing that, what if a student asks, a girl in the classroom asks, many times it has happened in my class, you see, girl asks, you see, sir, stop. You say Bharadiyar is a progressive thinker. Bharatidasan is a progressive thinker. Yes, of course. Yes, of course. But why does he say, நெட்டை மரங்களாய் நின்று புலம்புகிறார் பெட்டை புலம்பல் பிறருக்கு துணையாமோ? Why does he belittle women? பெட்டை புலம்பல் பிறருக்கு துணையாமோ? It happened to me. Then I told them, no. What he meant by pettai was impotence. I was not thoroughly convinced in that. But I was not lying to the students either, because today pettai as an impotent is also wrong. Transgenders are not the others. The book there says, into which I have contributed, I have translated some 11 poems from Kalki Subramaniam. That is there, published there. You see, transgenders are not the other. They are part of our humanity. So you cannot have the other. But generally, it is a male-dominated world. You see, patriarchy, which comes out from the unconscious, to even Bharadiyar. Bharadiyar, even though he is காக்கை குருவியங்கள் ஜாதி நீர் கடலும் மறையுமெங்கள் கூட்டம் நோக்கும் திசையெல்லாம் யாமன்றி வேறில்லை நோக்க களியாட்டம், ecocentrism Bharadiyar talked about. But still Bharadiyar would sing in another song, ஆயிரம் தெய்வங்கள் உண்டென்று கூறும் அறிவிலியால். This kind of diversity Bharadiyar never believed in. Bharadiyar always believed in the monotheism, unigod, you see. So that pays an impact on our diversity. But Bharadiyar was not, unfortunately. He was not aware of it. He was not doing it intentionally. But now when in this context, when a girl asked this question, we have to tell them, in those days, women were treated so. Women were not given rights. So a woman getting angry would not result in anything. Bharadiyar would have felt it was a comment not upon that particular situation, upon that age also. You see, so you can move whether Bharadiyar has actually meant it or not. You have every right as reader-response theory. You have every right to play within the text. You are not going away from the text. So at any point, you can let the student take. And also I am telling you, since our students are very much interested in watching movies, if you take the standard volume of Charles Dickens's novels, these novels would have been written as one-liners, as film script, one-liners. What happens in one scene? What happens in the second scene? Even a chapter will be given in a couple of sentences. We call it in cinema one-liner. Then we will detail it. So you can convert that into one-liner and give it to the students and ask them to go for detail, whichever is applicable to them. So a classroom, a fiction classroom should become visual, should become hyperlinked classroom at any point. Because when you have enough space and time, you let go as many things as possible. You have to partake with the audience, to the readers. So there will be gaps, many gaps. You see, the Chota Bheem, you see, if you are going to make a Tarzan out of Chota Bheem, or if you are going to make a Phantomus out of Chota Bheem, Bheeman was always called Mandan. You see, read Iranda Molam by M.T. Vasudevan Nair. You see, translated into two versions. One is the second turn and the other is the second place. As a rereading of Mahabharata from Bhima's viewpoint. So our children who are all watching Chota Bheem would always be Chota Bheems, and they would never be Arjuna, or they will never be Dharma to get a subliminal experience, to grow up subliminally. They will always be the henchmen of this pedagogy, this hegemony. See? So we have to give space to the students to share the subliminal experience, convert, transform reading of fiction as a subliminal experience by making our students to enjoy the space, make our students to take off from any point and ask certain relevant questions. These questions will take you to basic humanity or to the specific space and time, because a piece of literature ought to be approached chronologically, geographically, generically, and authorially also. So all these four approaches we have to give. So all the best, since the time is not enough, I am limiting this. See, fiction is important to bring our students back to reading, because fiction has enough space and time. This fiction reading can be made subliminal, going beyond the pleasure, to understand something basic about life by giving enough space for students to make the classroom, literature classroom, hyperlinked classrooms. More than in any other literary genre, fiction has all the three discourses. So by reading a fiction, the student can have the experience of reading a poem, reading a novel, reading a drama, and watching a cinema. For the people who are so well versed in visual language, we have to channelize their thirst to make fiction reading a pre-visualization in their mind, so that they can see the characters, for which we should not let them skip the descriptive passages. We should make them read the descriptive passages. If we use one sample, then students will naturally understand the importance of reading the descriptive passages, where they will have enough space to get a subliminal experience. Thank you very much.
Sir, a wonderful lecture, sir. Wonderful lecture. You have swept the floor. The lecture was mind-boggling, sir. Wonderful, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Now, the session is for discussion. The floor is open for discussion. Participants, you can please raise your questions or clarifications.
Gopinath Bhuvendan, there is a question from how was sports connected to American fiction, which is a role of sports in literature and society? Can we consider sports as texture? Definitely. Not only according to Roland Barthes, I would say anything is a text. Anything, because anything which is readable. Reading is understanding, comprehending, not just looking on. It is looking into. So anything, even we have to make so much of research in the field of semantics and semiotics. How a particular meaning is attained. The process between the raw truth, the selected truth, the medium, the delivered truth, and the understood. You see, there may be generation lapse. Anything which is a process, anything which kindles your comprehensive challenge, cognitive corridors, is a text. Definitely sports is a text. Today, sports writing, sports fiction is becoming a very important subgenre in fiction. Already there are excellent movies like Lagan, which can also be read. Lagan, Chak De, and many such movies recently that is gaining currency in Tamil films also. So sports writing, I'm not talking about column writing. Fiction on sports is a very important thing. Many autobiographies or biographies of the sports people would appear very much. Bruce Lee's biography or Muhammad Ali's biography especially would make such an interesting reading. So sports is also sports writing is also a text. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Sir, good
Thank
evening,
you.
sir.
Thank you, sir. Elango, sir.
Thank
I'm
you,
Dr.
Prema.
Prema from Sri Meenakshi College, sir, Madurai. Hello. Am I
Yes.
audible, sir? Yes, sir. Sir,
Ma'am,
I am Dr.
would you please
Yes,
type
sir.
your question here? That will be better
Yes.
for me.
Hello.
Ma'am, can you type your query in the chat box?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah,
Oh.
please. I can read it.
Okay. Could you please explain ஜானகிராமன் ஸ்டேட்மெண்ட்? முனைவர் ராமச்சந்திரன் கேட்டிருக்கிறாங்க. ஜானகிராமன் அடுத்தவன் மனைவியை அனுபவிக்கும் இன்பம் கிடைக்கிறது, அதனால் எழுதுகிறேன்கிறார். அது உண்மைதான். ஒரு எழுத்தாளன் எழுதும் பொழுது அதுக்கு தமிழ்ல இப்போ ஒரு அழகான பேர் வந்திருக்குங்க சார். ஒரு எழுத்தாளன் ரைட்டர் ரைட்ஸ், அவர் எழுதும் பொழுது எங்கோ ஒரு இடத்துல தன்னை வச்சுக்கிறார், தன்னை வச்சிருப்பார் அந்த இடத்துல. சில ரைட்டர்ஸ், ஏன் ஜெயகாந்தன் இவ்வளவு சொல்றவர், ஜெயகாந்தனே கூட நீங்க பாத்தீங்கன்னா அவர் சினிமா எடுக்கும் பொழுது அந்த கதாநாயகன் ரோல்ல அப்ப அவ்வளவு ஃபேமஸா இல்லாத, நாட் மச் ஹேட், ஏ டீசென்ட் ஆக்டர் ஸ்ரீகாந்த் ஒரு ஆக்டர் அப்ப இருந்தாரு. அவரைத்தான் நடிகை நாடகம் பார்க்கிறார். சில நேரங்களில் சில மனிதர்கள் அதுலலாம் காஸ்ட் பண்ணியிருப்பாங்க. ஏன் புதுச்செருப்பு கடிக்கும்ல கூட அது அவர் தான் காஸ்ட் பண்ணியிருப்பார், பீம் சிங். ஏன் அப்படின்னா அவர் ஜெயகாந்தன் கொஞ்சம் ஹீரோ மாதிரி இருந்தாருன்னா ஸ்ரீகாந்த் மாதிரி இருப்பாரு. சுஜாதா, ரைட்டர் சுஜாதா அடிக்கடி எழுதும் பொழுது கணேஷ் வினோத் மெஹ்ரா மாதிரி இருந்தாருன்னு. வினோத் மெஹ்ரா ஒரு ஹிந்தி ஆக்டர். சுஜாதா ஹேண்ட்ஸமா இருக்க மாட்டார், நல்ல லட்சணமா இருப்பாரு. ஆனா ஹீரோ ஹேண்ட்ஸம் கிளாமரஸா இருக்க மாட்டார் சுஜாதா. சுஜாதா கொஞ்சம் கிளாமரஸா இருந்தாருன்னா வினோத் மெஹ்ரா மாதிரி தான் இருப்பாரு. எல்லாருக்குமே அந்த இது உண்டு. இளையராஜா ராஜா ராஜாஜி ராஜான்னு பாடுறதோ, அல்லது கமல்ஹாசன் ஆழ்வார்பேட்டை ஆண்டவா பெட்டியை போட்டு தாண்டவான்னு பாடுறதோ, எல்லாமே வாலி ஊருக்குள்ளே உண்டு பல ராஜராஜன் தான், ராஜாவுக்கு மேல இந்த ரங்கராஜன் தான் அப்படின்னு தன்னை பாடுறோம். இங்க ஒரு இடத்துல வைப்பாங்க ரைட்டர். கம்பனும் வைப்பாரு, கம்பராமாயணத்திலையும் வைப்பாரு அவர். கம்பன் வால்மீகி வைப்பாரு. வியாசாய விஷ்ணு ரூபாய வியாச ரூபாய விஷ்ணுவே நமோவை பிரம்மனிதையே வாசிஷ்டாய நமோ நமகங்கிறது செகண்ட் வேர்ட்ஸ். வியாசர் பாருங்க அந்த இடத்துல கொண்டு தண்ணி வைக்கிறார். வியாசாய விஷ்ணு ரூபாய வியாச ரூபாய விஷ்ணுவேங்கிறார். வியாசரே விஸ்வரூபத்தில் இருக்கும் வியாசரே, விஷ்ணுவே வியாசரூபத்தில் இருக்கும் விஷ்ணுவேன்னு நம்ம ஆட்டோமெட்டிக் ரைட்டிங் சொல்லும் இல்லையா. எழுத்தாளனும் ஒரு கருவிதான். அவன் பயன்படுத்துகின்ற பேனாவை போல. The gadget he is using, writing materials. The writer is also an agent. The writer is also an instrument, not an agent. நம்ம WB Yeats, ஆங்கில கவிஞர் WB Yeats உடைய மனைவி, அவங்க இந்த ரைட்டிங்ல, ஆட்டோ ரைட்டிங்ல ரொம்ப நம்பிக்கை இருந்துச்சு. அவங்க Yeats கூட ஒரு இடத்துல can we tell the dancer from the dance அப்படின்னுவார். ஒரு இடத்துல பாயிண்ட்ல எல்லாரும் ஒன்னாயிடுறாங்க. ஏகே பார்த்தசாரதி, ஏகே ராமானுஜம், ஏகே ராமானுஜம் ஒரு இடத்துல சொல்லுவார். You see, அவன் இவன் உவன் அவள் இவள் இவள் யார் இவர் எவர் அப்படின்னு ஒரு திருவாய்மொழியில ஒரு அதை டிரான்ஸ்லேட் பண்ணிட்டு வரும்போது அவர் கடைசியில சொல்லுவார். அவர் பிரமாதமா முடிக்குவார். God, grammar becomes poetry. You see, grammar becomes poetry. Poetry becomes theology. God is the subject of all predicates. நானும் ஒரு predicate தான், எழுதுகிறவனும் ஒரு predicate தான். இன்னொரு இடத்துல ரொலாண்ட் பார்த் கொஞ்சம் பக்கத்துல போனாரு. மற்றவங்களுக்கு தெரியும், இங்கிலீஷ் பீப்புளுக்கு தெரியும், தமிழ் நீங்க எல்லாம் இலக்கியம் தான் உங்களுக்கு தெரியும். ரொலாண்ட் பார்த் went very near to that to talk about author and writer. He said the author, death of an author. Author ஒருத்தர் கிடையாது. Author is authoritative. The writer writes. That's all. He is not an authoritative. He is not an authority over what he has written. அங்கதான் நான் சப்ளிமினல் பத்தி பேசுறேன். ஒரு அன்கான்சியஸா வெளியில வந்துருதுங்கிறேன். அன்கான்சியஸா வெளியில வந்துருது. பாரதியாருக்கு வந்திருக்கின்றேன், எல்லாருக்கும் வருங்கிறேன். அப்ப வெறும் பில்டிங்ஸ் ரொமான் அப்படின்னு ஒரு நாவல் இருக்கு. பில்டிங்ஸ் ரொமான்ல மட்டும் ஒருத்தருடைய வாழ்க்கையை சொல்ற மாதிரி ஹிஸ்டரியை சொல்றது இல்ல. எல்லா நாவலுக்குள்ளேயும் எல்லா இதுக்குள்ளேயும் ஒரு ஹிஸ்டரி இருக்கு. எல்லா நரேஷனுக்குள்ளேயும் ஒரு ஹிஸ்டரி இருக்கு. ஷேக்ஸ்பியர் அழகா சொல்லுவாரு, there is a history in every man's life அப்படின்னுவார். there is a history in every man's life. அதே மாதிரி ஒவ்வொரு நாவல்லையும், அதுக்காக நாவலை நான் ஃபோக்கஸ் பண்ணது. நாவல் ஸ்பேஸ் இருக்குது, அதுக்குள்ள ஒரு டிஸ்கிரிப்ஷன்ல ஹிஸ்டரி வந்துடும். அதனால கண்டிப்பா அந்த இடத்துல இருப்பாங்க. ஃபிக்ஷனல் நரேஷன். அதாவது ஃபிக்ஷனல் நரேஷன்ங்கிறது உங்களுடைய இமேஜினேஷனை கொண்டு போகிறது. யூ டேக் இட் டு யுவர் இமேஜினேஷன். யூ சி இன் டிராமா வி டாக் அபவுட் ஃபிக்ஷனல் ஸ்பேஸ். இப்போ நான் இங்கே திரும்பி நான் டிராமா இது ஃப்ரேம் தான் என்னுடைய ஃப்ரேம். ஆஃப் த ஃப்ரேம் சினிமாவில் வந்து க்ளோஸ்டு ஃப்ரேம் ஓப்பன் ஃப்ரேம்னு சொல்லுவாங்க. நான் இப்போ இப்படி திரும்பி நின்று கொஞ்சம் டீ கூடமா அப்படின்னு நான் சொன்னேன்னா உடனே நீங்க புரிஞ்சுக்குவீங்க என் மனைவி கிட்டயோ என் மகள்கிட்டயோ நான் டீ கேட்கிறேன்னு. எனக்கு மகள் இல்லைன்னு தெரிஞ்சவங்க தெரிஞ்சுக்குவாங்க, என் மனைவி கிட்ட தெரியும். இது ஓப்பன் ஃப்ரேம். இப்போ ஃப்ரேம்ல நீங்க பாக்குறீங்க. ஆனா இப்படி சொல்லும் பொழுது அந்த ஜன்னலை ப்ளீஸ் க்ளோஸ் த டோர், க்ளோஸ் த விண்டோ அப்படின்னா யூ இமேஜின் த விண்டோ தேர். வி டூ இட் இன் டிராமா. டிராமால ஒரு ஃப்ரேம் தான் இருக்கும். வி எஸ்டாப்ளிஷ் பிளேசஸ், fictional spaces, attributing fictional meaning to spaces. So a narrative adds fictions. கொஞ்சம் ஃபிக்ஷன் இமேஜினேஷன் ஆட் பண்ணும், கற்பனையை ஆட் பண்ணும். இந்த கற்பனையை ஆட் பண்ணும் பொழுதுதான் இட் வில் பிட்ரே த ஆத்தரை பிட்ரே பண்ணிடும். அது நல்ல பிட்ரே தான் இருக்கு, ஒரு நெகட்டிவ் சென்ஸ்ல சொல்லல. பாரதிதாசன் எப்படி எழுதுறாரு, ஒரு ஏற்றப்பாடல் எழுதுறார். நீலவான் ஆடைக்குள் உடல் மறைத்து நிலாவென்று காட்டுகின்றாய் ஒளிமுகத்தை, கோலம் முழுவதும் காட்டிவிட்டால் காதல் கொள்ளையிலே இவ்வுலகம் சாமோ, வான சோலையிலே பூத்ததனி பூவோ, நீதான் சொக்கவள்ளி பார்க்குடமோ அமுதமுற்றோ, காலை வந்த செம்பருதி கடலில் மூழ்கி கனல் மாறி உயர்ந்திருந்த ஒளிப்புலமோடு ஒரு டிஸ்கிரிப்ஷன் ஆஃப் மூன் கம்பேரிங் இட் வித் இமேஜ் ஆஃப் உமன். பட் பாரதிதாசன் பேசிக்கலி இஸ் a proletariat poet. So he says, உனைக்காணும் பொழுதினிலே என் நெஞ்சத்தில் ஊறி வரும் உணர்ச்சிதனை எழுதுவதற்கு நினைத்தாலும் வார்த்தை தான் கிட்டவில்லை. நித்திய தரித்திரராய் உழைத்து தினைத்தனையும் பயனின்றி பசித்த மக்கள் சிறிது கூழ் தேடுங்கால் பானையார கணத்திருந்த வெண்சோறு காணும் இன்பம் கவிநிலவை உனைக்காணும் இன்பம் தானோ முடிச்சிடார் பாருங்க. எவ்வளவு டிஸ்கிரிப்ஷன் கொடுத்தா, என்ன அருமையான டிஸ்கிரிப்ஷன். நீலவான் ஆடைக்குள் முகம் மறைத்து உடல் மறைத்து நிலாவென்று காட்டுகிறாய் ஒளிமுகத்தை என்றான். எப்பேற்பட்ட டிஸ்கிரிப்ஷன். அவ்வளவு டிஸ்கிரிப்ஷன் கொடுத்து, after having given a catalog of images so appealing to your aesthetic sense, Bharatidasan concludes that with a proletariat statement, the pleasure which I experience on seeing you cannot be put in words. One comparison maybe I can try, he says. Like a proletariat who works day in and day out for a slurping frugal, if I could get a vessel full of freshly cooked rice brimming, you see how much pleasure she would get. That kind of pleasure I get on seeing you மூங்குறார். சாப்பாட்டை கம்பேர் பண்றாரு. ஏன்னா பசித்தவனுக்குத்தான் தெரியும் சாப்பாடுனா என்னன்னு. பசினா என்னன்னு தெரிஞ்சவனுக்கு தான் சாப்பாடு தெரியும். ப்ரோலிட்டேரியேட்டுக்கு போறார் பாருங்க. அப்போ அந்த இடத்துல பாரதிதாசன் பிட்ரே ஆயிடுறாருல. அவர் ஈஸ்தட்டிக் போயட் அல்ல, அவர் ஒரு ப்ரோலிட்டேரியட் போயட். That is why you call Bharatidasan as proletariat, புரட்சி கவிஞன். If Bharatiyar is a visionary poet, Bharatidasan is a revolutionary poet, as my Professor K. Chellappan would often say. அப்படித்தானே.
Sir?
Yes.
Professor Raja has asked you to share your views on post-truth in fiction and its impact.
Post-modern fiction, ma'am.
Post-truth in fiction. Yeah, sure, sir.
சும்மா ஒரு ரெண்டு கீவேர்ட்ஸ் அடிச்சீங்கன்னா I can understand. I have all the time in the world. உங்களுக்கு தான் டேட்டா ப்ராப்ளம். அதாவது உங்களுக்கு you may be busy after a day long work. எனக்கு ஒன்றும் இல்லை. அருமையான கேள்வி. An excellent question. A $1 million question. A very good question asked by Dr. Ponmari ma'am. Dr. Ponmari ma'am, visualizing the text, you have been hopping பாவங்க சொல்லல, நானா சொல்றேன். Because I was hopping on that. அவங்க அப்படி சொல்லல. அவங்க சார் நீங்க டைம் அண்ட் அகைன் poetry, drama எல்லாத்தையும் விஷுவலைஸ் பண்ண சொல்றீங்க. How will you teach it to a visually challenged person? புரியுதுங்களா? அழகான கொஸ்டின். மேம், பொன்மாரி மேம், தேங்க்ஸ் ஃபார் ஆஸ்கிங் திஸ் கொஸ்டின். I should tell you, I should share something with you. They have their image in their mind. இதைத்தான் திருப்பி ரொலான் பார்த் மித்த பத்தி பேசும்பொழுது சொல்றாரு. வாட் ஹி சேஸ், ரொலான் பார்த்தஸ்ன்னு சொல்லுவாங்க தமிழ் மேஜருங்க. ரொலான் பார்த்தஸ்ன்னு சொல்லுவாங்க. ரொலான் பார்த் நாங்க சொல்லுவோம். The Barthesian, செமியாட்டிக்ஸ்ல
முடிய போகுது இது.
ஒரு நிமிஷம்
சரியா இருக்காங்களா?
ஹலோ, ஒரு நிமிஷம். அதுல என்ன சொல்லுவாங்கன்னா, எல்லாருக்குமே ஒரு சவுண்ட் கேட்ட உடனே ஒரு இமேஜ் மனசுக்கு வருது. இப்போ ஹார்ட்ஸ் அப்படிங்கிறத நீங்க ஹோஸ்ன்னு கேட்டுட்டீங்கன்னு வச்சுக்கோங்க, அந்த ஹோஸ்க்கு இந்த பைப்பு தான் உங்க நினைச்சு போறது. அப்போ ஐ அசோசியேட் எ சவுண்ட் வித் அன் இமேஜ். திஸ் ஹேப்பன்ஸ். அதுதான் முத நான் என்ன சொன்னேன், சப்ளிமினல் நியூரான்ஸை பத்தி பேசினது. நான் அவள் மிகவும் அழகாக இருந்தால் அப்படி என் மனசுல என்ன அழகா இருக்கு, இதுக்கு நான் பார்த்திருக்கணும்னு கூட அவசியம் இல்லை. ஐ வில் ஆல்வேஸ் டிரான்ஸ்லேட் dissociation of sensibilities. I will always translate. Don't visually challenged people fall in love with? Don't they have? They may not have the vision. Those who were visually challenged by birth, they may not have seen beautiful people, but they have an idea of beauty in their mind. இதுதான் என்னைக்குமே நம்ம we should not have any categorical ideas. ஐடியாலஜிங்கிற விஷயத்தையே எடுத்து பேசுறது காரணம் அதுதான். What is beautiful here may be ugly somewhere else. So it is a problem. அதனால நீங்க visually challenged peopleக்கு கண்டிப்பா உங்களால டீச் பண்ண முடியும். When you think you can teach not phonetic symbols. Phonetic symbol கிடையாது இந்த பையனுக்கு. ஆனா நீங்க சவுண்ட் டீச் பண்றீங்கல்ல, அவங்களுக்கு வேற சவுண்ட் டீச் பண்றீங்கல்ல. The symbol represents a sound there. அவ்வளவுதான். அதே மாதிரி the sound represents, the word represents a visual in their mind. Definitely. We can make them do that. It may not be the same. It may be different, but according to that student, it is that. Have I answered your question, Punmari ma'am? Definitely you can do.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you so much for addressing the question.
And also, Punmari ma'am, one personal experience. There was a teacher working in Mary Ann's school. He once took me long back, 20-30 years back. He took me to his school saying that he has directed, he's going to stage Julius Caesar for the annual day, parents' day, school day. And so, நான் டைரக்ட் பண்ணியிருக்கேன், நீங்க பாருங்க சார் கொஞ்சம். நான் போய் பார்த்தேன், பர்ஃபெக்டா பொசிஷன் வச்சிருந்தாரு. He may have been looking at different direction, but for him also right, left, back, எல்லாம் இருக்கு. So you can do that. Charles Dickens is my choice. Somebody has asked me to suggest fiction. Charles Dickens is always my chance as a fiction writer, which will kindle imagination. செம்மையா டிஸ்கிரிப்ஷன் கொடுத்துருப்பாரு, கேரக்டருக்கு ஏற்ற மாதிரி டிஸ்கிரிப்ஷன் கொடுத்துருப்பாரு. The nose, the way one sits, அது எல்லாமே பண்ணியிருப்பாரு. So Charles Dickens would be a very good choice, especially A Tale of Two Cities, Oliver Twist are such beautiful, Christmas Carol, such beautiful things. David Copperfield போக வேண்டாம். So Charles Dickens is always my choice. If you ask for one person, if you do not have any other question, the floor is for over to the organizers, the host.
Sir, there's one more question from Professor Raja. Sir, am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible, ma'am.
Yes,
You
sir.
are audible.
Sir, Professor Raja wants to know your views on post-truth in fiction and its impact, sir.
I will have to check it in the chat box.
Yeah, he has posted in the chat box.
how to teach Silas Marner for part 2 people. Actually, Silas Marner is ideal for part 2 people. You can focus on Silas Marner's character, and as the character develops, the narration also develops. And as I have told you, you can graphically explain it. Actually, Silas Marner, I taught for the part 2 students. You focus more upon life as a journey. You can focus upon the moral vision. That will be ideal for the part 2 students. Professor Raja has asked post-truth and its impact in today's fiction. The idea is there is nothing called the truth phenomenology. Basically, if you explain to your students what phenomenology is, then that will be very interesting for the students to understand something from different viewpoints. You can start it with a game even. For example, there is a famous cartoon by Wills. The title of the cartoon is, it's a universally famous cartoon. Everywhere available. So many copies are also available. The cartoon is titled as My Wife and My Mother-in-Law. My Wife and My Mother-in-Law. If you look at the cartoon from one glance, it may appear like a young woman, young lady. But if you blink your eyes and see it again, it may appear again like an old lady. Show that picture to the students and talk to them about optical illusions, and then you go for the post-truth by pointing out phenomenology. Phenomenology says a subject from the given position perceives an aspect of the object. Another subject from its given position perceives another aspect of the object. So, practically you can do it in, say, the classroom. The one who is sitting in the last row may see the back of the head of the one who is sitting in the front row. So there is nothing called absolute truth. None of them is lying, but none of it is complete truth. Like that, there is nothing called that truth. That truth in itself is changing. It is not intentional. We don't say that the writer is lying or the speaker is lying, but the truth exists in a particular space and time. We have to be very open-minded to discuss this to our students. Ma'am, did you talk about realistic drama in postmodernism? Okay. Realistic drama in postmodernism. Ma'am, I have already told you, drama is something which can be interpreted and reinterpreted, because unlike other things, drama requires four-way communication. So you can take Hamlet, you can take any Ibsonian play or Shavian play, you can take any play, and when you stage it to a particular audience, for example, the audience of today, it will reach the audience according to their comprehension. The difficulty is to fill the gap between your intention and the result. Can you make your personal understanding, personal experience a shared experience? That is the idea. But in postmodernism, what we can do is we just give a, what shall I say, a heap of broken images, borrowed from T.S. Eliot, surrealistic theater, existentialistic theater, you see, Dadaist theater, expressionist theater. They just give you, they try to make a concrete form out of the abstraction. So they just leave it at that. A pile of images or a chain of subtextual images. for the reader to select from it and interpret that in their own way. Moreover, here I would like to make a slight distinction. Postmodernism cannot be determined by whatever written in the contemporary world or whatever written after modernism. Post should not be taken here as after. Post should be taken here as opposite to modernism. Modernism tried to make everything scientific and objective. So as the other person asked, the truth. Now postmodernism talks about post-truth. There is nothing called one truth. There are many places, even postmodernist drama are there. It will give you an impression. For example, a rich man would fall in love with the nurse. And finally we would come to know that the rich old man falling in love with a nurse, which is interpreted as love for sex, you see, a relationship for sex. But finally, in the third act, we come to know that the nurse does not have breasts. So all your preconceived notions shatter there. How many lines are attributed to Gertrude in Hamlet? Gertrude is the problem in Hamlet. But others speak. Iago speaks more number of words than Othello does. Hamlet speaks, Claudius speaks, Polonius speaks. But Gertrude, how many lines are attributed to Gertrude? So these questions, when you highlight these questions, for example, there are plays which highlight Shylock's role. You see, rewritten, remade, reinterpreted, reread. So these modern plays, which make things categorically objective, you can put them and edit them in such a way that they would be appealing, they would be raising postmodern questions like reader response, multi-point perspective, plurality of meaning. All these things can be focused upon. In theater, you have many gadgets such as lighting, music and all. You can make these directorial gadgets to draw the attention of the audience to a particular thing. Tennessee Williams tried it in a realistic way, but he called his theater a plastic theater, a reverie play. While Tom and his mother are speaking, the light would be on Laura, because they are talking about Laura. See, that in itself is a new thought. You thought like that, by shifting the light, by shifting the focus, you can change the meaning. In cinema, you call it rack focus. The frame remains the same, the text remains the same, but by racking the focus, the prominent becomes a subsidiary and the subsidiary becomes the prominent, as you wish. You can use lighting like that. There are many ways. Have I answered your question, ma'am?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much for the enlightening session, sir. Your ability to bring up instances from Tamil movies and also the words of Tamil poets resonated strongly with our participants too. And your Tamil articulation reflects your passion for the language, and it is truly inspiring, sir. As mentioned by one of our participants, 1 hour is not enough to listen to you, sir. The depth of your understanding is very evident from your clarity of your presentation too. So once again, thank you, sir. Thank you for your time, effort, and expertise. May I now invite Ms. M. Karunya, Assistant Professor, Department of English, to propose word of thanks. Over to you, ma'am.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I deemed it a great honor and privilege to propose the vote of thanks on this memorable occasion. Let me first of all start by giving a glory to the Almighty God for making today's occasion a resounding success. As William Arthur Ward rightly said, feeling gratitude and not expressing it like are wrapping a present and not giving it. Today, I take this opportunity to express my deepest sense of gratitude and appreciation to all those made this event success. To begin, on behalf of the Department of Tamil and English, Ainadar Janagimal College Management and Principal, I would like to thank our resource person, Professor N. Elango Sir, Associate Professor and former Head, Postgraduate Department of English, the American College Madurai, for his wonderful lecture. On lending ears to your voice, we have learned to make our classroom hyperlinked classroom, sir. From tomorrow onwards, we definitely make our classroom in a hyperlinked way. And you have stressed the importance, attention on focusing classic works of the arts. Yes, we were frozen on your discussion session, sir. Thank you for your valuable time and a wonderful, fruitful session on this evening. Thank you so much, sir. My heartfelt thanks to Dr. M. Movendar for keeping the team in a high spirit for making those decisions. You make our inspiration, and we couldn't ask for a better boss. Thank you, Movendar, sir. Next, I thank our distinguished faculty members, participants, and hostess for their patience, guidance, and the encouragements. Thank you, professors. Once again, I thank you for all your attention. Thank you.
Formally, let me thank once again, Professor, my teacher, Professor Elango, sir. Thank you so much for delivering a mind-boggling session, sir. Really impressed, and I was taken aback to my college days. I was nostalgic, and I remember all the pleasant experiences I had in the American college, especially in your classes, sir. Thank you so much for sweeping the overflow with your wonderful thoughts. And these the ideas you have shared today were all new today. Extremely thank you so much, sir. From the bottom of my heart, I express my heartfelt thanks to you. Thank you, sir. Thank you once again.
Thank you, sir. Thanks to all the participants with active participation. Looking forward to see you all tomorrow. Thank you. The feedback link is shared in the chat box. Kindly record your presence and the feedback. Thank you.